What I didn't realize when I handed my son Derek the spare keys to my house in Southeast Portland was that 8 months later, I'd be hiring a lawyer just to get them back. But let me start from the beginning, before everything fell apart. My name is Eleanor Whitmore, and at 64 years old, I thought I'd seen enough of life to know better. I spent 32 years as a librarian at Cleveland High School, helping thousands of students find their way through literature and life. I retired 3 years ago to this beautiful craftsman bungalow in the Selwood neighborhood, the same house my late husband Thomas and I bought in 1987. The mortgage was paid off, the garden was thriving, and I was finally living the peaceful retirement we'd always planned together. Then Derek called. It was a Tuesday evening in late September when my phone rang. My son's voice sounded strained, tired in a way I hadn't heard since his college finals. He was 37, married to Brittany for 5 years, and they'd been living in a trendy apartment in the Pearl District while Derek ran his tech startup. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something," he said, and my heart immediately sank. You know that feeling when you're a parent? That instinct that tells you your child is about to ask for something difficult? What is it? Sweetheart, the company folded. The investors pulled out last month, and we've been trying to salvage it, but... His voice cracked. "We're losing the apartment. Our lease is up in 2 weeks, and with my credit right now, no one will rent to us. Brittany's salary alone isn't enough." I closed my eyes, thinking of Thomas. He would have opened our home without hesitation. "You know you can always come home, Derek. You and Brittany both." "Really?" The relief in his voice made my chest tight. "Mom, I promise it's just temporary, just until I can get a job, get back on my feet. 3 months, maybe 4 at most. Take your time," I told him. "Family helps family. That's what your father would have wanted." That was my first mistake, not helping them, but believing it would only be temporary. They moved in on October 1st. Brittany was 29. With long blonde hair, she was always flipping and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She worked as a marketing coordinator for a local boutique clothing brand, a job she frequently complained paid too little for her talents. The first week was pleasant enough. Derek helped me clean out the guest room and the small office space I'd been using for my book club materials. Brittany cooked dinner twice, elaborate meals that she photographed extensively for her Instagram before we ate. She had over 15,000 followers apparently, though I never quite understood what they were following her for. "This is so quaint, Eleanor," Brittany said on their third night, looking around my living room with its built-in bookshelves and bay windows. "Very vintage." I smiled, ignoring the faint condescension in her tone. "The house was built in 1924. We've tried to preserve the original character." She was already scrolling through her phone. "Derek, we should really think about updating this space. It could have such good light for content." By week 2, small things started to shift. I came home from my Thursday book club to find my favorite reading chair moved to the corner, replaced by a ring light and a makeshift backdrop. Brittany was filming something about fall fashion essentials. "Oh, Eleanor, you're back early." She didn't move the equipment. "Don't worry, I'll put everything back. Eventually. This lighting is just perfect right here." "That's my chair," I said carefully. "I know, and we'll move it back. I just need it for a few days while I film this campaign." She turned back to her camera, dismissing me. Derek walked in, saw the tension, and quickly said, "Mom, it's just for a few days. Brittany's trying to build her influencer career. It could really take off." I wanted to say that this was my home, my living room, my chair that Thomas and I had picked out together at an estate sale 20 years ago. Instead, I nodded and went to make tea in my own kitchen, feeling like a guest. The few days turned into 3 weeks. My chair never moved back. By November, the dynamic had shifted entirely. Brittany's belongings multiplied like rabbits. Designer shopping bags lined the hallway. Her shoes filled the entryway closet, pushing my coats and gardening boots into a corner. The bathroom I'd designated as theirs somehow expanded into mine, her extensive skincare routine taking over every surface. "Brittany, honey," I said one morning, finding her face masks and serums covering my counter. "Could you keep your things in your bathroom? I need space for my medications." She looked at me like I'd suggested something outrageous. "Eleanor, that bathroom has terrible lighting. I need to do my routine where I can see properly. You can just put your pills in the cabinet, can't you?" "This is the cabinet." I said, opening it to show the shelves already packed with her products. She sighed heavily. Fine, I'll consolidate. But honestly, you have this whole house. Is it really such a big deal to share one bathroom counter? I felt heat rising in my face. This whole house, my house, that Thomas and I had scrimped and saved for, that I'd paid property taxes on for 37 years. But Derek was watching from the doorway with that pleading expression, so I swallowed my words. Just try to leave me a little space, I said quietly. Brittany's smile was sharp. Of course, we're all family here, right? We should share everything. That's when I should have seen it. The word share in her mouth didn't mean the same thing it meant to me. December brought the first real confrontation. I came home to find Brittany's friend Madison in my kitchen, and the two of them going through my cabinets. "What are you doing?" I asked, setting down my grocery bags. "Oh, good, Eleanor, you're here." Brittany pulled out my grandmother's china. Madison is planning a holiday photo shoot, and I told her she could use these dishes. They're so vintage and aesthetic. "Those are family heirlooms," I said, my voice tight. "They're not for photo shoots." "We'll be careful," Madison said, not even looking at me as she examined a teacup. "These will photograph beautifully." "No." I took the cup from her hands. "These belong to my grandmother. They're not props." Brittany's face darkened. "Seriously, Eleanor? You're going to be difficult about some old dishes? They're just sitting in your cabinet collecting dust. At least we'd actually use them. They're mine." The answer is no. "This is exactly what Derek said you'd be like," Brittany snapped. "Controlling, possessive, can't stand to share anything. We're living in your house rent-free, trying to be grateful, and you won't even let us use a few plates?" The manipulation was so smooth I almost missed it. Suddenly, I was the villain for protecting my own belongings in my own home. Before I could respond, Derek rushed in from the garage. "What's going on?" "Your mother is being unreasonable," Brittany said, her eyes already welling with tears. "I just wanted to help Madison with a simple photo shoot, and she's acting like I asked to burn the house down." Derek looked at me, exhausted. "Mom, can't you just let them use the dishes? They'll be careful." "No, Derek. These are irreplaceable family pieces. If something happens, nothing will happen." Brittany's tears were flowing now. "I can't believe this. I try so hard to fit in here, to respect your space, and you just... God, I feel so unwelcome." She ran from the room. Madison gathered her things with an uncomfortable expression, and Derek followed his wife upstairs. I was left standing in my kitchen, holding my grandmother's teacup, feeling like I was the one who'd done something wrong. That night, lying in bed, I heard them through the wall. Not the words, but the tone. Brittany's voice rising and falling, agitated. Derek's low murmurs, soothing. I stared at the ceiling of the bedroom I'd shared with Thomas, and for the first time, I felt afraid in my own home. By January, Derek still hadn't found a job. Or rather, he'd had 3 interviews that just didn't work out and was waiting to hear back from several more. Meanwhile, Brittany had quit her marketing job. "I'm pursuing influencing full-time now," she announced at dinner. "The brand partnerships are starting to come in, and I can't juggle both. This is my passion." "What about income?" I asked carefully. Derek still looking. "And the bills." "Are we charging them rent, Mom?" Derek cut in, defensive. "I thought family helped family." "Of course not. I just mean, you both need to be planning for when you move out, building up savings again." Brittany laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Move out? Eleanor, have you seen rental prices in Portland? It's impossible out there. We might need to stay here longer than we thought." My stomach dropped. "How much longer?" "Well, Derek needs to find the right job, not just any job, and I need time to build my following to a sustainable level. Maybe another year? A year?" The room started to spin. "Or however long it takes," Brittany added, her voice hardening. "Unless you're kicking your own son out onto the street? Is that what Thomas would have wanted? Using my dead husband's name like a weapon." I excused myself and went to my room, my heart pounding. When I pulled out my laptop to check my bank account, I noticed something odd. There was a charge to a restaurant I'd never been to, then another to a boutique. Small amounts, but things I hadn't purchased. I called the bank the next morning. The representative checked the records. Mrs. Whitmore, these charges were made with check number 1,847. Do you have your checkbook? I did. Or I thought I did. It took me 20 minutes to find it, shoved in the back of the junk drawer instead of my desk where I always kept it. And, when I counted the checks, 3 were missing. 3 checks, all made out and signed in handwriting that was close to mine, but not quite, close enough that a busy cashier might not look twice. My hands shook as I looked at the amounts. $250 at a restaurant, $300 at a boutique, $180 at a spa. I should have called the police right then. Instead, I confronted Derek. Did you or Brittany take checks from my checkbook? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. Mom, we needed a few things. I was going to pay you back as soon as I get a job. You forged my signature, Derek. That's illegal. Forged? Mom, come on. It's not like we stole from a stranger. You're letting us stay here anyway. What's a few $100s between family? What's a few hundred? I couldn't even finish the sentence. Derek, this is fraud. You can't just take my checks and sign my name. Then add me to your account, he snapped. Make me an authorized user so it's not an issue. God, you're making such a big deal out of this. Brittany and I are struggling, and you're worried about some checks? That's when Brittany appeared at the top of the stairs. What's going on? Your mother-in-law is accusing us of stealing, Derek said bitterly. I'm not accusing. I'm stating facts. Checks were taken from my checkbook and forged. Brittany descended the stairs slowly, her expression unreadable. When she reached the bottom, she looked me directly in the eyes and said, You know what, Eleanor? If you don't trust us, if you're going to treat us like criminals in your own home, maybe you should just tell us to leave. Is that what you want? Your son homeless? The manipulation was so blatant, so obvious, and yet Derek was looking at me like I was the monster. I felt crazy. Was I overreacting? Was I being controlling? I want you to ask before using my things, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I want you to respect that this is my home. Your home that we're living in, Brittany shot back. Your home where we eat your food, use your utilities, take up your space. Trust me, Eleanor, we're very aware it's your home. You remind us every single day. She turned and walked away, and Derek followed without another word, leaving me standing in the hallway of my own house, feeling like I was the one who didn't belong. That night, I made a decision. I called an old friend from my library days, Judith Chen, who'd retired and started a small law practice focusing on elder law and estate planning. We'd served on the Oregon Library Association board together for years. Judith, I need advice, I said when she answered. Hypothetically, if someone was living in your home and forging checks, Eleanor, this isn't hypothetical, is it? I told her everything. The moved furniture, the boundary violations, the forged checks, the gaslighting. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Eleanor, this is financial elder abuse. It's a crime in Oregon, and it almost always escalates. It's my son, Judith. I know, honey. That's what makes it so hard. But you need to protect yourself. Start documenting everything. Every conversation, every financial irregularity, everything. And I want you to call me if anything else happens. Anything at all. I'm going to send you some information about your legal options. I hung up feeling both validated and heartbroken. That night, I ordered a small security camera online. Just one, hidden in a decorative book on the shelf in the living room, pointed at the main areas. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was betraying my son's trust. But Thomas's voice in my head, the voice I still heard sometimes, said, Protect yourself, Ellie. Something's not right. February brought a cold snap, and with it, a new level of audacity. I came home from my volunteer shift at the library to find Brittany had rearranged my entire living room. The couch was against a different wall. My bookshelf had been cleared of half my books to make room for her aesthetic decorations, and my photographs of Thomas had been put away. Where are my pictures? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I packed them up, Brittany said casually, adjusting a throw pillow. They were kind of depressing, Eleanor. All those old photos of dead people. I'm trying to make this space more inviting. Dead people? That's my husband. That's Derek's father. Exactly. Past tense. It's been what, 3 years? Maybe it's time to move on, Derek agrees. All those reminders just bring the energy down. I turned to my son, who was sitting at what used to be my desk, now apparently his workstation. Derek? He didn't look up from his laptop. She's just trying to freshen things up, Mom. It does feel kind of dark in here with all the old stuff. Old stuff. The photos of our wedding. Of Derek as a baby. Of family vacations and holidays and Thomas's last birthday before the cancer. I found the box in the garage, tucked behind the recycling bins. I brought it upstairs and put every single photo back, my hands shaking with rage. Brittany watched me with a small smile, like I was a child having a tantrum. If you don't like living with us, she said softly, you're welcome to stay somewhere else. Maybe with your book club friends? Give us some space to make this house feel like a real home? The absolute nerve of it took my breath away. Before I could respond, she continued, Actually, Derek and I have been talking. This house is pretty big for one person. Have you thought about selling it? You could split the proceeds with Derek, since he's your only child. It would be the fair thing to do. Selling my house? Well, it's going to be his eventually anyway, right? Your will leaves everything to him. Why not do it now? When he actually needs it. You could buy a nice condo somewhere, something more manageable at your age. We could use the money to get back on our feet, and you'd have a simpler life. She'd clearly been thinking about this, planning it. This house is not for sale, I said, my voice like ice. Yet, Brittany replied with a smile. But Derek is family, and family shares everything, right? That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to them laugh in what used to be my office, and I realized with perfect clarity that Brittany had no intention of ever leaving. She'd found a comfortable situation, and she was going to exploit it for everything she could get. The next morning, I called Judith again. I need you to help me prepare something. Legally. Just in case things get worse. What are you thinking? Eviction papers. Drafted and ready to file. I'm not using them yet, but I want them ready. Eleanor, that's smart. I'll have them drawn up this week. And I'm also going to draft you a new will, one that includes specific protections. If Brittany is already talking about your assets, we need to make sure everything is airtight. Over the next 2 weeks, I documented everything. The camera caught Brittany going through my mail, trying on my jewelry, even attempting to open my locked file cabinet where I kept important documents. I photographed the forged checks. I saved text messages. I kept a journal of every incident, every violation, every manipulation. And then things escalated in a way I never imagined. It was a Friday afternoon in late February. I'd been at the Portland Japanese Garden with my book club, discussing the latest novel over tea. When I came home, Derek and Brittany were in the kitchen with someone I didn't recognize, a middle-aged man in business casual attire. Mom! Derek's voice was too bright, too cheerful. Perfect timing. This is Robert Davidson. He's a care consultant. A what? The man extended his hand. Mrs. Whitmore, your son and daughter-in-law asked me to come assess your living situation. They're concerned about some signs of cognitive decline. My blood went cold. Cognitive decline? Brittany stepped forward, her face arranged in concern that didn't reach her eyes. Eleanor, we've been worried. You've been so forgetful lately. Losing your checkbook, forgetting conversations we've had, moving things around and not remembering. Derek and I think it might be time to consider, well, additional support. I haven't forgotten anything. You took my checkbook. You've been the one moving things. Davidson was writing notes. Memory defensiveness is actually a common symptom, Mrs. Whitmore. Patients often don't realize they're experiencing decline. I'm not experiencing anything. I'm perfectly fine. Mom, you're 64, Derek said gently. Early onset dementia can happen. We just want to make sure you're safe. By declaring me incompetent, I understood now, with horrible clarity, what they were trying to do. This is about control. You want me ruled unable to manage my own affairs. It's about love, Brittany said, and I almost laughed at the audacity. We can't watch you struggle. The wandering at odd hours, the confusion, the mood swings. Mr. Davidson specializes in helping families transition elderly relatives into appropriate care. Wandering at odd hours. I'd been going to my book club. Mood swings. I'd been angry at their violations. They were twisting every normal behavior into symptoms. "I want you all to leave," I said, my voice shaking. "Mr. Davidson, I did not request your services. Derek, Brittany, I need you to pack your things." "See?" Brittany turned to Davidson. "The aggression, the paranoia. This is exactly what we've been dealing with." Davidson nodded sympathetically. "Mrs. Whitmore, I understand this is difficult. No one wants to admit they need help. But your family—" "Get out!" I shouted. "All of you, get out of my house right now." Derek's face crumpled. "Mom, please, we're trying to help you." "By stealing from me? By trying to have me declared incompetent? How stupid do you think I am, Derek?" "Eleanor, we'd be happy to discuss a live-in care arrangement," Davidson continued, unfazed by my outburst. "Your son and daughter-in-law could remain here to monitor you, and we could bring in professional support." That's when I understood the whole plan. They'd have me declared incompetent. Derek would get power of attorney or guardianship. They'd control my house and my money, and I'd be trapped in my own home with caregivers they selected. I pulled out my phone and dialed Judith's number. She answered on the second ring. "Judith, they brought a care consultant to my house. They're trying to say I have dementia." "I'm calling the police for a welfare check," she said immediately. "Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. I'll be there in 15 minutes. "You're calling your lawyer?" Brittany's mask slipped, showing genuine anger. "That's inappropriate, Eleanor. We're your family. We're trying to help you, and you're treating us like enemies." "You are enemies," I said clearly. "You've stolen from me, manipulated me, and now you're trying to steal my autonomy. Mr. Davidson, if you don't leave immediately, I'm pressing charges for trespassing." He gathered his materials quickly. "I'll let you folks sort this out. Derek, call me when she's more settled." The moment he left, Brittany's concern evaporated entirely. "You're going to regret this, Eleanor. We've been documenting your decline for months. We have witnesses. We have evidence. You think you can fight us? You're an old woman living alone. People will believe us." "We'll see about that," I said. The next 30 minutes were the longest of my life. Judith arrived first, her silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, carrying a leather briefcase, and the air of someone who did not tolerate nonsense. "I'm Judith Chen, Mrs. Whitmore's attorney. I understand there's been some confusion about her mental competence." "We're family," Derek tried. "This is a private matter. Fraud is not a private matter. Elder abuse is not a private matter. Now, I suggest you both start packing your belongings, because Mrs. Whitmore will be filing eviction papers first thing Monday morning." Brittany's laugh was ugly. "Eviction? She can't evict us. We're residents here. We have rights. Actually, in Oregon, if you're not on the lease and you're not paying rent, you're guests. And guests can be asked to leave. You have 30 days, per state law, but I'd suggest you use them wisely." Judith turned to me. "Eleanor, do you have somewhere you can stay for a few nights while we sort this out?" I shook my head. "This is my home. I'm not leaving." "Then we'll make sure you're protected." She made a phone call, speaking in low tones. Derek stood up, his face red. "Mom, you're really doing this? Kicking us out over some misunderstandings? We're family." "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't forge checks. Family doesn't try to have me declared incompetent to steal my house." My voice was steady now, the fear burned away by righteous anger. "I tried to help you, Derek. I opened my home because I love you. But you let her turn you against me." "Brittany hasn't done anything wrong. Haven't I?" Brittany stood up, and for the first time, I saw her without the mask. "Your mother's been recording us, Derek. I found the camera weeks ago. That stupid little spy device in the bookshelf. She's been gathering evidence like we're criminals." "Because you are criminals," Judith said calmly. "Forgery is a Class C felony in Oregon, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Financial abuse of a vulnerable person carries similar penalties." "Vulnerable?" Brittany spat. "She's not vulnerable. She's a controlling, manipulative old woman who can't stand that we might want a life too." There it was, the truth, finally naked in the light. 2 police officers arrived 20 minutes later for the welfare check. They interviewed me separately from Derek and Brittany, taking notes as I showed them the forged checks, the camera footage, the timeline Judith and I had prepared. One officer was young, maybe in her late 20s. The other was older, with gray at his temples and kind eyes that reminded me of Thomas. "Mrs. Whitmore, are you afraid for your safety?" the older officer asked. I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect Derek, even now. But I thought of Thomas, and what he'd want me to say. "Yes," I admitted. "I'm afraid they'll try to hurt me to get what they want." The officers spoke with Derek and Brittany next. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw Brittany's animated gestures, her tears, Derek's slumped shoulders. When the officers came back, the older one looked at me seriously. "Mrs. Whitmore, we've advised your son and daughter-in-law that they need to find alternative housing. We can't force them to leave tonight without a formal eviction, but we've made it clear that any further financial irregularities or attempts to manipulate your care will result in charges. We're filing a report about the forged checks, and the district attorney may follow up." "Thank you," I whispered. After the police left, Judith stayed. We sat in my kitchen, the one room Brittany hadn't tried to redecorate, and she walked me through next steps. "The eviction papers are ready to file. I'll do it Monday. You'll also want to change your locks the day they move out, change your bank accounts, and put fraud alerts on your credit. I'm going to recommend a security system for the house." "What about Derek?" I asked. "He's my son. He's an adult who made choices, Eleanor. Bad choices. Whether he realizes that and tries to make amends is up to him, but you need to protect yourself first." That night, Derek knocked on my bedroom door. "Mom, can we talk?" I almost didn't answer. But this was my child. The baby I'd nursed, the toddler who'd cried when I left for work, the teenager who'd helped me nurse Thomas through cancer. I opened the door. "I'm sorry," he said, and he was crying. "I'm so sorry. I didn't see what was happening. Brittany kept saying you were trying to control us, that you didn't want us to be independent, and I believed her because it was easier than admitting I'd failed. You forged my checks, Derek. I know. And there's no excuse. I was desperate and stupid, and I let her convince me it was okay because family helps family. But that's not what we were doing. We were using you." I wanted to forgive him. God, how I wanted to believe this was real. "Where's Brittany?" "Upstairs packing. She's furious with me for talking to you. She says I'm weak, that you manipulated me." He laughed bitterly. "She's been saying that a lot lately, that I'm weak. That I'm not a real man if I let my mother control me. I think she's been controlling me this whole time, and I was too blind to see it. Derek, I love you. But you both need to leave. And you need to get yourself together, figure out who you are without her telling you." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I know. Can I call you? After we're out? Try to make things right?" "Maybe," I said honestly. "After some time, after you've proven you've changed." He left, and I heard him and Brittany arguing upstairs. Her voice was shrill, accusatory. His was defensive but growing stronger. I didn't let myself hope, not yet. They moved out 2 weeks later, 3 days before the 30-day eviction period expired. Derek rented a small apartment in Beaverton. Brittany, I heard through the grapevine, moved in with a friend who also happened to be a moderately successful podcaster with a nice house in the West Hills. I changed my locks. Judith helped me put fraud alerts on my credit and open new bank accounts. The hidden camera came down, but I installed a proper security system, something I should have done years ago. The district attorney did follow up. Derek pled guilty to forgery and received probation and restitution payments. Brittany was charged with fraud and elder abuse. I didn't follow the case closely. I didn't want to know. What I did want was my home back. My peace, my life. It took months. I had to repaint the living room where Brittany had scuffed the walls. I rearranged all my furniture back to where it belonged. I filled the house with my photos again, letting Thomas's smile remind me that I'd done the right thing. Derek calls once a month. The conversations are awkward, stilted. He's working as a project manager for a construction company. Humble work after his startup ambitions. He filed for divorce from Brittany in May. He says he's in therapy. He says he understands now what she did to both of us. I want to believe him. But I also know that trust, once broken, takes years to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. My book club friends rallied around me. Judith became not just my lawyer, but one of my closest confidants. I started volunteering more at the library, helping seniors navigate technology and internet safety. I even gave a talk at the community center about recognizing financial elder abuse. The hardest part, I told a room of gray-haired men and women, is when it's family. We want to believe they'd never hurt us. We make excuses. We second-guess ourselves. But abuse is abuse, even when it's wrapped in family love. Especially then. An elderly woman in the front row raised her hand, her eyes wet. How did you find the courage to stand up to them? I thought about Thomas. About 32 years of helping students learn to stand up for themselves. About every time I'd told someone else to be strong, to set boundaries, to refuse to be a victim. I decided I'd rather be alone than be abused, I said simply. And then I discovered I wasn't alone at all. I had friends, I had my lawyer, I had my own strength that I'd forgotten was there. The courage was always inside me. I just had to choose to use it. The woman nodded, wiping her eyes. After the talk, 3 people came up to share their own stories. One man whose grandson had stolen his Social Security checks. One woman whose daughter-in-law was pressuring her to sign over her house. One widower whose children were fighting over his assets while he was still alive. What should I do? Each of them asked, in different ways. Document everything, I said. Call a lawyer, tell someone you trust, and remember that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. I gave them Judith's card. I shared resources. I listened to their stories and validated their pain, and I realized this was my purpose now, not just surviving my own ordeal, but helping others survive theirs. My house feels like mine again. I sit in my favorite chair, the one Brittany displaced, and read my books surrounded by my photos and my memories. The garden Thomas and I planted together bloomed beautifully this summer. I've started painting again, something I gave up years ago. Derek sent me flowers on Mother's Day with a card that said, "I'm working on being the son you raised. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself." I kept the card but donated the flowers to the nursing home nearby. Some wounds need more than flowers to heal. People ask me if I'm lonely in this big house by myself. Sometimes I am, but I'm learning that lonely is different from alone. Lonely is empty. Alone can be peaceful. Alone can be safe. Alone can be powerful. And I'm not really alone anyway. I have my friends, my community, my purpose, my strength. Most importantly, I have my dignity. They tried to take that from me, tried to make me doubt myself, tried to paint me as a feeble old woman who didn't know her own mind. But I knew. I always knew. I refused to be a victim. And in refusing, I found out who I really was. Not just Eleanor Whitmore, retired librarian, Thomas's widow, Derek's mother, but Eleanor, whole and complete on my own. 64 years old and still learning, still growing, still fighting. My house stands on its same corner in Selwood, its craftsman bones strong after a century. Like the house, I'm still here, still standing, still mine. And that, I've learned, is enough. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, please know, you're not crazy. Your feelings are valid. Your boundaries matter. Your home should be your sanctuary, not your prison. Document everything. Tell someone. Get help. And remember that choosing yourself isn't selfish. Sometimes it's survival. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you, and subscribe to Twisted MNT Stories for more real experiences about standing up for yourself and finding strength when life gets twisted. Drop a comment below and let me know. Have you ever had to set hard boundaries with family? How did you find the courage? Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, you don't need to move fast. You just need to make sure you don't go backwards. One step at a time, you can reclaim your life. Take care of yourselves out there. You're stronger than you think.